Hey, what's going on, everyone? Dan the Glassman here, and you're watching the Glassman's World. Apparently, I pressed live before I was even ready. I was getting the camera set up. So, welcome back, guys, to the Glassman's World. I am here wearing my brand new shirt. Check this out. I'm a little fancy today. How do you like that? Dino Taco. Today, for the first time ever, I've been wanting to do this video, I don't know for how long. Probably been talking about it for the last year or so, and just talking about how I've been wanting to do this whole video on remembering coronavirus and just kind of going over all the different things that we remember, all the different stuff that that has happened in the last few years. Life was a little bit different back in the beginning of 1999. Even, sorry, 1999. How far am I going back? 2019. Life was different way back in 1999, right before Y2K hit, and that whole fear-mongering tactic that helped, and a lot of these fear tactics have been going on for a really, really long time now, for many decades now. Y2K was getting all the masses all worried and getting people to start doing this whole like hoarding and this whole like shopping, buying out products, hoarding all the toilet paper, hoarding all of the disinfectants and all the cleaning sprays and all this different stuff. People buying out all kinds of like processed foods, store shelf stable foods, like a lot of ramens, a lot of canned goods, a lot of stuff like that. This whole survival situation and what they've been pushing on us has been happening for a really, really long time now. And, a lot of, well, not a lot, many of us, I guess, many of us have been paying attention to what's been going on in this world for a really long time now. And trying to just share information and stories, and we get ridiculed all the time. It's okay. I understand the path that I've chosen to take here, and which is doing my best to reveal truth. And if ever I'm wrong, I'll always backtrack my statements and or take, not backtrack, but I'll take back my statements, and I'll apologize, and I'll give the correct information if I have false or wrong information, and with a lot of stuff that's been going on in the recent years, I've done my best to really look into the information, to really do my own due diligence, to take the time that's necessary to take to read through articles, to read through medical journals, to look at hours and hours, I don't even know, thousands of hours worth of videos that are informative, with medical information. A lot of people during the whole last few years, there's been all the fact checker stuff, and a lot of people ridiculing you for saying, oh, where do you get your information from? The internet? And it's like, that's the world we're living in, you guys. Like Y2K, everyone was so concerned about the internet going down, right? And then these days, 20 years later, we're getting ridiculed for where do we get our information from. Well, it's not like any of us have like the what is it called, the whole entire Britannia, the whole Encyclopedia Britannica, whatever it is. Like, I don't even know what it's called anymore. But a whole entire thing of encyclopedias, the things that were written. But then, you could have a different version of encyclopedias that might have been printed by a whole different person, written by a different author, and then you might have a different version of it, a different printed version of it, right? So even still, when people are like, oh, where do you get your information from? The internet? Oh, where do you get your information from? YouTube? It's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of information out there that teaches you, like, how to build a home from scratch, how to build a cabin in the woods with with just a survival knife, like all kinds of crazy stuff. How to do things, like, yes, how to put things to action and make things happen. There is truth there. I mean, I don't understand why people were ridiculing all that. And so, you know, um, this video, it's been postponed because of the censorship that we were all receiving, that we were all getting. Anything that we were saying a few years ago, anything close to what I'm saying right now, this video would have been flagged. It would have been shut down. It would start glitching out. People would start having issues with being able to hear me. My audio gets cut in and out, things like that. Also viewership. In the last year, a few months or so, YouTube has done some updates, and I believe a lot of phones have also done a lot of updates. And one thing that people aren't aware of is I've been hearing, like, I'm subscribed to your channel. I get all notifications. I've hit that bell for all notifications, and I don't get any notifications. I keep hearing this. Even my wife, she's right here in my proximity, and she's not getting notifications. So it's like, well, what's going on? Recently, I heard that there's a video that I've seen, a YouTube video sharing truth, sharing information to let us know what's going on. And this information basically was revealed that a lot of the phones, you have to go, like, I wish I had my wife's phone so I could use it and go into it, but you have to go into settings, and then you have to go into notifications. So in your phone, you find settings and you go to notifications, and then in notifications, you have to choose whether your phone accepts notifications from outside apps like Facebook, YouTube, um, X, which, old Twitter, Insta, like all the different ones, including all the new ones, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, DStream, like all the different things that are out there now. And so you have to now go in and make sure that you hit that button in your settings and everything. So make sure that you do that, that you do set it to where you get notifications, or else there's no point in even clicking subscribe. I never ask anyone to subscribe to my channel, but I may actually change that. I may start asking you to please subscribe, please hit that bell button, and also go through your phone and make sure that you change up your settings for notifications. That way, these videos can be seen and can be heard. I understand if I'm not asking for subscribers, I'm not asking you to like the video. That hurts my algorithm. If you're not hitting the like button, if you're not subscribing to my channel, and if you're not sharing this information out, then it doesn't help the algorithm. It doesn't help to get this information out. So if you really think it's important, I would just personally think that anyone who thought this was important and liked it would just automatically hit the like button. But I understand at times I forget to hit the like button, and when I'm watching videos, they'll say, hey, be sure to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification to get all notifications on my YouTube channel here, The Glass Man's World. And so, they always do this whole spiel and everything. It's like they're reading a script or something, or like they just know the script now, And so they get, millions of viewers and stuff, and they're talking about the same things, if not less than what I'm talking about. I think I'm covering a lot more information and things than some individuals, streamers, and I guess we're known as influencers or whatever that means. But yeah, I just like to stream and talk and tell the truth, and we got these new video platforms. So let's get into this and talk about surviving coronavirus, truth finally being revealed, and our own memories of it, and remembering coronavirus. So for the last 4 years now, since 2019, gosh, 5 years, we've been following this information and stuff, and I have been also, let me just show you here, I've also been categorizing this and archiving what I can as best as I can. There's almost 1,000 videos here now, guys. on this. I added this last one here is about a homeless story of an individual here in Albuquerque, and he's basically on the streets because he lost everyone. He lost his wife, he lost his unborn child at that time. He then lost his mother while he was for some reason he was sitting in jail. He's saying for parking tickets or speeding tickets or whatever kind of traffic violations. But then he ended up losing his mom while he was in jail, couldn't go to the funeral. You remember all that. No one could hold a funeral, you know? Like, I still haven't had any sort of closure for our aunt, for my aunt Clara, who passed away, you know? So in the beginning, I started sharing this information. I've got close to 1,000 videos now here. Then I also, in the beginning, I started sharing information basically straight up for Albuquerque. You know, the 154 videos there. There's also, there's probably a lot more different things, playlists that I have. Like this one here is a good one. Optimize your health. That one will teach you on different things. This right here, surviving the Great Reset. That talks about so many different things. Surviving monkeypox is all a part of it. This one, where is Tiffany Dover? 100K reward to prove that she is still alive. There's so many different things that I've been archiving during this time, you guys. The truth is out. So this is what we're going to talk about today. And I've got a video right here that just all these videos confirm what's been going on and the things that we've been having to deal with lately, right? So during these last few years, we've been going through quite a bit. This is what back in 2023 they called the polypandemic of 2023, which means polycrisis, polypandemic, many pandemics, many crises all at once. I've got 530 videos there talking about things that are connected with that, So I have a lot of videos here to share with you guys on this information, and so one of the main ones is basically this one here, surviving coronavirus. And we'll just take a look at the full playlist. So I'll just open it up here. And we're just going to talk about, I really don't want to follow 1,000 videos or whatever, right? But this is it here. This is, when you open it up, surviving coronavirus, and it's got a bunch of different videos here, right? Maybe I should have just stayed right where I was for a moment. We could just scroll through real quick. But a couple things that is really important right now is the truth is coming out. And one of the biggest things, I've been following this individual. I don't know if you guys have been following Dr. John Campbell. He basically throughout the whole time, because of the censorship, because of the whole fact checkers and stuff, he was being very careful with what he was sharing by simply just reading what was being publicly shared, information and data. So he was just saying, well, allegedly, this is what they're claiming, and, allegedly this, allegedly that. And so this is now information that is coming out, and he, we've got so much information, that we're covering. There's so much stuff. This is a quote, a definite quote that he had said. So there's a lot of information out being revealed. This is really important. Finding solutions so we can help each other out. Even if, some people may have gotten it, some may have not gotten it. We still want to be able to help our brothers and sisters out. There is so much that we need to talk about with all of this. You guys. So much stuff. Okay? There is a lot that we have to cover and talk about here. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a really long time. But fact checkers have basically been blocking things. This individual, he was a pro mountain biker. And following his story, it's hopeful because he's actually getting some sort of like help and things like that finally, but it's also been a very long and sad journey, you know? There is so much stuff, you guys, that we really need to talk about. So the main thing, though, is right now truth is being revealed, and the information has come out so much now. The truth has come out so much now that Pfizer is now being sued by the district attorney in Kansas, and that lawsuit is worded to include any other states that would like to now join. So you guys need to really look at this video. It's only 13 minutes long. Take the time to look at just a few. I know some of our videos, like my video, I'll go for 4 hours. I know I talk too much, but sometimes a lot of stuff needs to be spoken about, right? So look at this. Oh, and look, a guy. Let's make sure that we do have all the live chat and everything. We just done with the strep throat and pink eye. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that stuff, right? But um, yeah, Dr. John Campbell, he's amazing and how he's been keeping to the truth. You know, there's a lot of other individuals that I follow. There's this individual here that I listen to as well. Um, uh, Dr. Sunil Don, him as well. Um, Cinema Shogun, I watch him because he just all over the place with so many different things. Ron Yates, I followed him because of financial stuff, and then he started realizing that the finances and everything are all connected with all this stuff, that people are making money off these things. So then he got into talking about that stuff. Kim Iverson, she got kicked off of what, Fox News, so she had to start her own thing. Surviving End Times, another good channel. There are so many, but as you can see, it's like John Campbell, John Campbell, John Campbell, right? Like you can see, like I definitely love Dr. John Campbell and what he's been sharing. But there are quite a few others who are out there. Infinite Waters. He talks about a lot of different things, but I don't know if he pushed for the jab or not. I don't remember. You know, there's some individuals who are now trying to like reveal the truth as if they weren't a part of pushing for it. They Speak Truth, very good channel, always getting banned. You know, so many individuals. But let's get back up to what I was talking about here. So the truth is now out so much. It's been coming out around the world. And now it's finally hit the United States. Because John Campbell, he's from what? Great Britain, from the UK. And, or I don't know if those are two of the same or if I'm mentioning two separate places. So I apologize. Please forgive me if I have any if I have any errors there. But I believe he's like speaking on Great Britain's behalf, right? The UK area, and when he speaks, a lot of the information comes from over there, and it comes from different countries. Finally, we now have this lawsuit happening in Kansas, and this here, like it's 5 minutes and 17 seconds long. I'm not gonna play it. Excuse me, but the information is out, you guys, and it is Dana Ashley. She was big on the EMF. Dana. Dana Ashley. Was she the science girl? Was that was it Science Geek, or was that her? She, man, she got bedridden. The science girl that I was following. If that's who that is, yeah, yeah, I thought that's who it was. Man, from the last thing that I saw, her boyfriend was talking about how she's just still bedridden, man, and she's not doing good. I don't know if she's passed yet, But I started following her because she was doing physics girl. She was doing a physics video on how on a kickflip, and it had Rodney Mullen, a skater from way back in the day. I don't know why this is going all blurry now. This is weird. So, but I'm gonna turn this around. We're gonna talk about what's going on here, and also now, this individual, this soldier, claims claims of the injuries that occurred while on duty, right? So now she is going to be able to have claims for military for medical coverage, for all full coverage on everything. And if her suit goes through, how many other soldiers? And then what is that going to do to the system if they have to start covering everyone's medical and everyone's everything? Um, then that's going to be a lot on the U.S. Tax dollars and financial system and everything. That's going to be pretty ridiculous, right? So, so yeah, from what I remember back in 2019, this is my own account, okay? Let's go through this as quickly as I can. I remember being that I created the world's first glass drip tips for the e-cig industry, the electronic cigarettes, back in 2010. I've been making electronic cigarettes, or I was making that for a long time, and I was I was staying informed on what was going on with like the laws, the rules, the regulations, knowing that, you know, like China was sending bad e-juice, and it had like a lot of they were finding stuff like the ethylene glycol instead of propylene glycol, and using and different stuff instead of the vegetable glycerin, and not using like food grade safe products and stuff like that, and it was getting people sick, right? And so what I remember was way back in that day, um, she way back in that day, I started reading about she had Bible dreams or something, and tsunami dreams. So I was following what was going on in, like, I think it was 2018, like the end of 2018 and 2019. Food's been fake for quite a long time, yes, and GMO'd and everything, like what we're talking about right now. The recumbent nucleic acid that they're putting in people in order to alter the DNA, perforating into the cell, getting through the cell membrane, and attacking the nucleus from within, and allowing the T cells to form into other things to then fight your own self. So you have your own immunity attacking your own body now, which is causing cytokine storms and a lot of stuff. And so, from what I remember, the there was something going around in the news. They were calling it popcorn lung disease, and they were contributing it to those who were using electronic cigarettes and vaping. You know, basically using these, right? Using a vape pen and vaping, and they were saying that people were then developing popcorn lung, and they were having these respiratory illnesses were then leading to fatalities. And it was like, whoa, that's not how it should be. You know, I learned how to make e-juice back in the day when I was working with the highdesertvapes.com, and working with John and Jen, and they taught me how to make the e-juice. We were going to come out and create our own line of vape juice called Dr. Juice. It was, you know, we were going to have it looking like Dr. Seuss, but that was going to create some issues, which I was purposely going to do to make that create some issues, and then we were going to have all kinds of whatever it would have been. It would have been crazy and fun. But, so I was way into the whole e-cig companies and stuff like that, right? and knowing what was going on and how to make them and how to keep them safe and making sure that you're getting the Italian flavors, so that way they were a lot more food grade safe than those regular like candy flavors that you could just buy off the shelf at anywhere. So, having the knowledge is power, right? Knowing about these things, I started wondering, well, what are they putting into these e-cigs that's causing fatalities? And what is this popcorn lung thing that's going on? I know when I used to vape, I wouldn't use any nicotine. I was doing it because by having one, you could sell them, right? Oh yeah, I sell these. They come with a glass tip. Back in the day, I used to make the glass tips. This is plastic, but I had these cool glass tips that were all nice and had an hourglass shape. It was all nice and slender and comfortable to use. And I quit selling them because China stole my design and started retailing them at the price of my wholesale, and I couldn't compete with the world market at that point. And also, I didn't want to deal with people who were quitting cigarettes, and they were extremely like ornery, and so I didn't want to deal with them. So I went back to dealing with people who smoke herb and doing smoking accessories and making jewelry, making cool jewelry that is both smoking accessory and also an ornament, or a beautiful pendant that's UFOs, things like that, whatever. And so I remember this popcorn lung thing happening, I think around the end of 2018 and going into 2019. And then there was a lot more fatalities and a lot more fatalities. And then they were talking about flu season. And in 2018, they were pushing, and they've been pushing this flu shot for I don't know how long. Walgreens, come on in and get your flu shot. Like I've been talking about that for a long time because it is possible. I can't prove it, but it is possible that my child passed away after her 3 month, when she was 3 months old. She had it like all newborns, they get a 3-month-old checkup, right? Make sure that they're okay and everything, and they get their first scheduled vaccines, right? 3.5 months old, she passes away. They say it's from sudden infant death syndrome. They don't know if it's connected, but a lot of people have always been saying how there is a connection with that. So ever since 2004, when I lost my child, I have been very wary about what anyone's putting into their body in that way. I mean, there's people who are on the streets who are just trying to do other ways, when they're trying to just like, uh, you know, get away from reality or whatever. And so, you want to be careful with whatever you're putting in your body. I'm always about food is thy medicine and making sure that, you do your best to eat organics. I'm always talking about these things. So, of course, I'm weary about injecting something into your body. I don't even take aspirin. I don't like to take Tylenol. Recently, I've had to take things like prescription things because of that incident that occurred, and I got really messed up. But before that, before just recently, the last time I went to the hospital was 2004 or 2005. Like 20 years ago it's been that I've been to any like doctor or a hospital, because I only go if it's necessary. So, because I don't believe in man-made substances like that. I understand that sugar is a substance and it can be abused. I understand these things. I understand that water is life and we should all be drinking more water and everything. So we definitely shouldn't be putting stuff like this, especially if they roll something out and they call it, what did they call it? Operation Warp Speed. Like, what are we, time traveling here? What is this warp speed thing here? You got to be very careful and safe when you're coming out with this stuff. You can't just experiment with us like we're a bunch of monkeys. Oh, that's what they think of us, though. Because we are all replaceable. And they know this. And it's all a part of the whole global depopulation agenda, the World Economic Forum's whole moving forward to the smart grid cities and getting everyone all to be in these little 15-minute hub cities so we can all stop driving, start riding bicycles, walking to work. 15-minute, you stay within 15 minutes, you no longer are allowed to travel outside, right? A lot of people kind of say that we're kind of been placed in a dome anyways right here on just these few continents, and there could possibly be more out there, but we don't know and we won't know, and that's a whole nother different conversation there. But as far as what was going on, what I remember is then we started rolling into a season where everyone was getting like the flu or getting some kind of upper respiratory illness, right? And then Halloween hit, right? So October, Halloween hits. I remember we had a friend of ours whose sister had some issues, needed to relocate as soon as possible, right? So we helped this individual out. This individual came to stay with us on our couch and was a smoker, right? Cigarette smoker. And every morning had this really bad cough. And it was like, whoa, man, like what's going on? And she'd wake up and she'd go smoke and stuff. And she had this really bad cough. And it wasn't until like, a few days later, 5-6 days later, and she's saying how she thinks that she's got some kind of upper respiratory issue or something's been going on. But the cigarette, she was saying by smoking, was actually kind of helping her to breathe better, which is weird because one of the things I remember is they were talking about how the coronavirus, the COV, the SARS-CoV-2 strain, that was somehow messing with the nicotine receptors within our bodies, and if our nicotine receptors are full with either nicotine or with, they even were saying with THC, that then the illness wouldn't attack you so much. So if your nicotine receptors were full, and they could have been full of some other things as well, healthy things as well, that they could allow you to not get sick. So there was studies on that too, with the whole people who smoked cigarettes didn't get as sick or didn't stay sick as long and things like that. And they're trying to figure all that out. So it was interesting when that happened. And then Halloween was coming and we're like, well, we don't know this individual. The person that, her brother, that's actually the person I know, who this person was related to, didn't want this person to be going over to their place. So it's like, well, you got her in our place. Do we trust her or not? I don't know. But we're about to go trick-or-treating this weekend, and you have to like figure out how to get home, get back to the res, or get where you need to get to. Call your parents, call your mom, call your dad, call your brothers, call whoever. Have them come get you, because we can't have you staying here longer than that. And so I remember we went out for trick-or-treating, and I think that weekend, I think my daughter came back with us, and she was, she goes back and forth from her mom to us, and back and forth every week, every other week. And so they're at school, right? School had just started. Well, not had just started. It's already end of October. They start in August, so it's August, September, October. But that's the beginning of the year, and that's when students get back, and then all the sicknesses to get spread, right? And everyone gets sick in the whole fall. That's why they always push the flu jab, because of flu season in the fall, because a lot of people get sick. But it's really, like season changes and allergies and things like that too. But they push these man-made medicines on people. And, come to find out, since 2013, they've been playing with the whole RNA resequencing stuff within the flu shots. So they've been making people sick for a long time with this stuff. And so I remember that we all got sick because we thought our daughter was bringing a sickness over, and her mom was also sick. And we just thought that every time that we tried to get her back to health, and by the time she'd go back to her mom, she'd come back sick again. And it was like I think it was like 2 to 4 weeks. It was like every time she'd come back, she'd be sick again. And this was when our baby was a newborn that year, born in 2019. So basically, his whole life has been in uh, this new great reset, and the whole pandemic and coronavirus and surviving coronavirus. So, and that's a weird thing to think about, like to have your whole life in this, like. And then I was thinking, like, my child, 11 years old, for 13 years they've been practicing this RNA stuff, right? My child has some heart issues and things. My child has been given the flu shot because of her mother deciding upon that. When we were together, we decided to be against it together, but since since we split apart, now her thinking on that changed. So it sucks that that I had no say in that. To get her into school, the scheduled jabs had to be given. I had no say in that because her mother had taken her from me for a while and put her into kindergarten a year earlier at only 4 years old. Kindergartners start at 5 years old usually, but our child was so smart and bright that they actually accepted her in. Um, and yeah, she's a year or two ahead of most individuals her age. So but now she's got some health issues, and I'm wondering now if it's because of the RNA sequencing within the flu shots. Um, so I remember that we all got sick. November 7th of 2019, I put a video up. You can see it on my channel. It's it's about making ginger compresses. I don't even know what I titled it as, but it's making ginger compresses to help with upper respiratory issues. So you get ginger, fresh ginger, you grate it up on a, like, not like, I guess a cheese grater, but you use like the side that like grates it, like the garlic thing, and you just like get it all pulverized on there. You get it in a bowl. You can even and then once you do that, then you get a fork and you mash the oils out more, and then you get that ginger that's been all crushed up with all the oils that's been pressed out, and you take that, you put it onto a gauze or a paper towel or something, and you put it on your chest. Adults could have it overnight. Our child, who was a newborn, we only kept it on for like 2 to 3 hours. They suggested, and so yeah, and the HPV was also a huge thing, and that's what my wife has an illness about. So we'll talk about that as well, because in this whole time of being with my wife, I got together with my wife in 2019. So we've been together pretty much for this whole time, throughout this whole time, and it's been pretty difficult and strenuous here and there, and put a lot of tension and stress on our relationship. But we're working through it. We always, we make things happen. And, I didn't choose to be with her when she was 5 months pregnant and choose to raise her child as my own for nothing, So I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my best to always make amends in this relationship and always moving forward so that we can remain together and stay as a unit here, as a family unit, and help each other through all this. Because it's going to get crazier and crazier, this whole great reset. The world is getting reset into something that we don't really know. Some of us may have had premonitions and dreams. Some of us may have overheard things that have been released and revealed through hidden cameras and stuff that's been taped and documented and released, secretly released, Assange, WikiLeaks, the a lot of information right there that got leaked, and he went to prison for it, and now he's getting released. There's a lot of stuff like that gets revealed. A lot of truth gets revealed, but people get in trouble when they reveal those truths. So what I remember is that we all got sick. I have the November 7th video to prove That was when our whole family was sick, and I started using ginger compresses to help, and that's when we first got the SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus. That's when we first got it. Was in Halloween time, early November 2019. Then moving forward in December, we start hearing about what was going on in like Wuhan or somewhere in China. And I remember specifically hearing this video of this guy who was speaking Chinese and or Mandarin, sorry, and he was very upset. And he was just like laying it out, talking to a higher up in the government, saying how they are overworked. He was a manager, I believe, at a crematorium, and how they were completely overbooked, overworked. They were getting like maybe 15 minutes sleep, working around the clock. That their workload went from like, what did they say? I think it was like they had a workload of maybe like 300 crematories a month that they were scheduling out in at one facility, to then it was like 300 a day. Like, it was just ridiculous. And then there were these videos of people getting like taken away and pushed into these black boxes, and you can hear them screaming in there, and they were possibly incinerating individuals alive in these boxes. There was a story of how, I don't know if you guys remember, but back around that time, I think it was January, the early weeks of January of 2020, China built a hospital in a matter of 1 week, right? And what then we heard, oh, and then also in this location, if you looked on the maps, you could see heat signatures coming from here and coming from here and coming from here. And so that new location, it was a crematory, but they said it was a hospital. And what we found out was, yeah, they built a hospital, or so it looked like a hospital, right? I work in film. They built like a prop set, basically. They made this hospital look like a hospital on the outside. You walk in, it looks like a regular hospital. Administration, you go through the admin. You can get in, and then they'll take you to different waiting rooms, and then they'll have different like observatory rooms where they can see you and stuff like that. But once you get far into those places where it says, like restricted, personnel only, and things like that, once you get past and through those doors, you get into the actual center of the building. And what I remember from these calls was that there was, I believe, a general who went in to go visit. And what was happening was the individuals who were coming into the hospital who were sick and having fatalities, those fatalities were being placed through the back, as they thought people were getting treated, were going into those back rooms, which was the center of the building, which was a crematory. And they were just stacking. What I heard from the conversation on the phone was that they were higher than what people, like mounds, taller than them. And the sick individuals who were about to become fatal were being forced to wheelbarrow the ones from the pile into the fires. And that's just what I remember hearing, my own personal account. And it was just ridiculous. Like, what the F is going on over here? For real. And then you started hearing about this sickness, and that was like around December 20. I want to say December 23rd. Maybe it was after Christmas, December 26th, when they finally were saying that something was going out and around, right, and being spread, and all these people were getting sick. And then by, I think, January, they finally claimed it as this is a pandemic. There's a sickness, a virus going around, and then they called it the SARS-CoV-2, right? And then there were these talks of how people got it from the meat markets and by eating bats, right? And then there were these other talks on pangolins. And I remember doing a video, like I was being comical at this time, and I was like, oh yeah, so what they're saying is you have to be attacked by a bat, you have to be bitten by a bat and by a pangolin at the same time for this cross um, virus to occur of what they were saying it was. And it's like, so you got this bat coming, and then a penguin's all, and you're like, what down, get off me, get off. And I remember making this video, like making fun of it. But recently now, coming to find out in the video where the individuals, I just showed you Dr. Campbell's video, he talks about the vitamin D. And that doctor talks about why the vitamin D is helpful, why it's helping cancer patients, why the jab or just getting sick has been causing new cancer, creating more cancer and new patients rising in recent years because of all of this, what they had spread around. And then there was, I remember at the beginning there were also the talks of how somewhere in Fort Detrick, Dr. Merrick, who was connected to the University of Southern Carolina, I believe the Tar Heels, they had funding through the NIH, the National Institute of Health, and Dr. Merrick, there was something that had happened, and they were working on what we call the whole, where things get gained, new functions are created. And so this was then being discovered and created through that university, through Dr. Merrick, and something about Fort Detrick, how the lab was breached, and 5 to 7 individuals, I guess, were in there taking virals of this this pathogen, and they got out. One of them was tackled. I heard that the virals or the whatever it was, those things broke on impact, right? So there was a spread there. The other individuals were able to hop aboard a plane, get through Texas, fly through California and out to China or something like that, or maybe like California to Canada to China, like I don't know. It was some weird, strange route, and they lost track of where these individuals went, and then they claimed that they took that to Wuhan, and that's where it then got spread. But it was first created here in the U.S. and breached at Fort Detrick. Now, this is just my own recollection. This is what I remember. So yeah, then we started hearing about this sickness and illness, and then they had to shut down schools, right? And then masks were put into play the year later, and they were wondering about, well, how are we going to do schools? And then they started doing like online classes, and they were removing teachers and like all kinds of crazy stuff. Like all the education system got switched and changed around, right? And all these new like rules and regulations got put into place. And then like stuff started happening in the medical field, right? In the medical industry. And then it was like, you couldn't wait in the waiting room if you were like sick. It's like they made you wait outside. So then you would like contaminate the people who were walking in or whatever. There was also the time when my wife and our child, who I think it was the following year in 2020, they got sick really bad. They went to Presbyterian Hospital, who they were only concerned whether or not that they got the SARS-CoV-2. So they did the swabs on both of them. They made them sit outside. They said, the nurse came running back. You came back negative. You don't have it. Like, well, what's going on with our sickness here? Like, this is not good. We're really sick here. It's like, I don't know, but here, take some Tylenol. And it's like, wait a minute. They had they were showing blood in their stool, a very bad sign of a really bad illness. They sent them away because they didn't have SARS-CoV-2. You know, we learned then that they were getting like $30,000 for every positive that they were getting, and then being able to get them in what do you call it when you're put into the hospital? Administered. You know, you have an admission, then you sign the paperwork to become their patient. So you sign your rights and everything over to the hospital. So then they can do all these things, and then the ventilators came up, right? And all these people were like passing because the ventilators, what I got taught throughout all of this, you know, I don't have any, I'm a glass blower, I'm a musician, but I'm pretty smart and I do a lot of research on my own. And so one of the things I learned was when you do a ventilator, you have a team of doctors, nurses that are on a staff that are like, they're working as a team. You've got 8 to 12 individuals who are all on call round the clock, able to dial this in to make sure that they're getting the right air and the right pressure to ventilate, to be able to help you with breathing if you're having issues with breathing. They can't just like start pumping it in at like everyone has their own intake and what they can take in safely, and so it takes like around the clock to dial it in. And these people were just getting placed on ventilators without this team, without trying to dial it in around the clock to make sure they're getting it right. So then it's set up, you know, after, you know, it might take a few days to get it set up, and then they're watched closely and monitored closely for weeks after that. But this wasn't happening. People were just getting put on it right away. Also, medicines that were being used widely for issues and things were then being recalled and told that you can no longer use them, and then being called that they were only used for animals and not for human consumption and all this stuff. And they were taking away medicines that worked. And why did they do that? Because they had to prove to the courts, to a judge, that there was no working, no viable medicine on the market out there in the world anywhere, whether it be a tree, plant, herb, any sort of medicine that they have not found that helps with this. But yet now truth is being revealed, and we've learned that ivermectin does help, right? That the quinine helped, that getting the curcumin from the turmeric, that helps. Upping your vitamin D helps extremely. Your vitamin C, that helps. Bromelain and the NAC, all of those help. All of those were around during this whole crisis. But because they pushed all of that, and they said it doesn't work, it's not viable, it doesn't, like, they basically said that there's no other possible solutions or cures or treatments out there. So we now need the judge's authority to roll out an emergency use act so we can do this whole, what do they call it, Operation Warp Speed, instead of taking their time with medicine and making sure that they do all the proper testing and everything, right? And then, you know, now we're finding out through the whole Kansas lawsuit, through the district attorney, that Pfizer, that they had all kinds of information and control lab data that they destroyed, purposely destroyed. They knew that there were fatalities. They knew that there were issues. No one ever had the patient informed consent disclosure. No one had true disclosure. There were videos of remember the pharmacist, that the man, the old white hair, little glasses, the lady came in and said, I'd like to know, like, in all the different other different medications and everything, there's always some sort of insert that tells you the side effects and the usage and the dosage and all the different things, everything. It's got a whole disclosure, a patient disclosure information thing, right? It's got all the ingredients, everything. She asked, well, can I see that that information that's within the vial from the shot, the liquid that's within there that they're putting in, the RNA juice. I don't know what to call it. The pathogens that's in there. So, when he came back, he opened it up, unfolded it, right? Unfolded it, and it was like this big piece of paper, right? That had one little thing in the center of it printed, and all of it was blank, and he was just shocked. He was like, I'm sorry that I was telling you to take this and that it was safe and this and that, and I really need to rethink my medical stance now, because what he was doing, he knew, went against the Nuremberg Code. It went against giving patients the full consent disclosure, the full disclosure of it. He understood at that point. It hit him. Oh, I could lose my license for this. I can be sued over this. I remember when the judges also awarded all of the manufacturer companies indemnity, so then they could no longer be sued by individuals, but they could be sued by the government, and that's the thing that people don't understand. Also, anyone who ever administered it falsely claimed that it was safe and effective can now be sued because they were falsely advertising and giving misinformation to coerce individuals into taking something that is not safe nor effective and has actually been found to be harmful and causing an uptick in cancer and a lot of other issues like miscarriages, and a lot of women's health issues, reproductive issues. I'm not even sure what's going on with men, but I do believe there's an uptick in prostate cancer. There's a lot going on, guys. What I've learned from that individual who was speaking with Dr. John Campbell in the vitamin D video is that the vitamin D is necessary because whatever was put into us, whether we got it from the illness, from a spread, from a pathogen spreading, the spike protein spreading from one person who was sick onto us, or getting it directly put within your body, that pathogen is designed from a bat. I guess there was some bats in a cave that they were like studying and testing and stuff, and they mixed it with the DNA of a pangolin. And why is that? From what that doctor was explaining, the pangolin, we all have cholesterol. We've all got this layer of like grease on our skin that's supposed to be good. And good cholesterol is good for us. Good fat, eating ghee, having good saturated butter, clarified butter, coconut oil, eating avocados, those sorts of things are better for our health. And they help us because they give us the cholesterol within our body, which then helps us to absorb the vitamin D from the sun, which that cholesterol helps us to process the vitamin D, which then our body then is able to utilize. And if we don't have as much cholesterol, good cholesterol in our bodies, which since like the 70s, they've been pushing on this whole no cholesterol thing and get away from butter, eat margarine, right? Country crock of shit. And whatever other plastic things that they're saying, hey, try this. It tastes like butter. It's like, I can't believe it's not butter. Like, wow, yeah. I can't believe it's not plastic either. Like, it's in between right there by one molecule, right? and people love it and people eat it, and some people have dairy issues, and they go with that because that's the only thing that they know. They don't know how to make clarified ghee or butter. They don't know how to make how to just use olive oil instead, things like that, you know, because they've been conditioned into needing that buttery goodness, that taste, that flavor. And so you know, the cholesterol helps us to process that. The reason why they didn't use the pangolin is because the pangolin apparently doesn't have the same cholesterol within its body and isn't capable of processing the vitamin D and cannot fight off certain pathogens. So they used its weakness, the DNA, the weakness of the pangolin, mixed it with the bat, created the SARS-CoV-2, also created whatever the RNA sequencing or resequencing, which resequences your DNA, changes up chromosomes, it perforates for the first time ever. They've been able to perforate and get into the cell and actually attack the nucleus for the first time ever. This is all stuff that I've just recently learned. Like in the last few years, I've gone through some medical education. Like, wow, like had I gone to school for this, you know, I might have a degree almost. Because what, or it takes like 8 years, 12 years, or like 4 years into it. I'm like almost done in my 8 year, 10 year. And so, you know, I've learned a lot of this going through all of this. And also, as you mentioned with the HPV, um, that was possibly or is also RNA. And my wife apparently took it in 2002. So if it was RNA back then, they're not disclosing that it was back then because they're only saying since 2013. But I do believe, unless her dates are wrong, she said that she graduated or something, or was supposed to, like around 2001, and after that, that's when she got it. And that's when she started having her illnesses and her injuries, and years later, she was then put on disability because of it. And she now suffers daily. And it's a very um, hard life for her to live, for me to live with her and through her pain. You know, it sucks to have to hear her. You know, I wake up and I'm like ready to go. You know, like 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I can wake up and like, all right, let's do a quick little wake and bake sesh. Let's get the day going. What needs to be done? Start some dishes. All right, let's get some dishes done. Get things cleaned up a little bit before everyone wakes up. You know, or maybe I got to get to work like at 7 a.m. So I need to start getting ready or whatever and get some things, or you know, take care of some stuff. I'm just ready to go, go, go. I don't even really need an alarm because I just wake up before the sun. That's just me. Others aren't morning people, but then also when you wake up in pain every morning, how can you be a morning person? You know, when you wake up and all you can feel is pressure in your head, all this aches and pains, you're so tight all over. And if someone gives you a massage, it just hurts more because you have this sensitivity now, and like anything hurts, and you got to wear the right clothes, or things feel abrasive, and you got to eat the right foods, and you got to eliminate all these foods that you used to love. And so whenever, like, you know, I feel bad eating some things in front of my wife because she can't partake in certain things. And then it's like, well, I guess I just have to not partake either because then it makes her feel bad. Or then I have to eat it without her knowing it, like eat it somewhere else, you know, and not even like share that I enjoyed something. You know, it's like, it's so difficult to live in these ways, you know, having to do so many doctor's appointments when I just told you the last time I ever went to a doctor or hospital was 20 years ago. And then to be with someone where it's like, you know, one, I don't know, like for a while it seemed like it was like every week. There's like one trip to the hospital every week. And then not only that, but then there's also the doctor's appointments, right? To go see this neurologist and this endocrinologist and this um, heart doctor and this this pain specialist and this and whatever, and then chiropractic issues because of the pains and all this stuff. And if she doesn't get like, so then there's like so many different things. It's like I went from like never worrying about doctors to like, okay, we got an appointment every week, I guess, right, for the rest of our lives, and then plus more if they got extra appointments and all these things. And so my wife knew that when they were going to rush this whole emergency use act with the whole warp speed um, push, she was aware of certain testing that had been done. She actually was going to study to be a doctor. She was going to, she went to school for medical study. And I don't know how long she went, but she decided that with all of the bureaucratic BS that goes along with it, and how you basically get your hands tied and you can't really do anything once you're working in the medical field. You just got to follow orders like every other little good employee has to, right? Or you lose your job and you lose your benefits or whatever, and you get ostracized. Um, you just gotta do what you're told, right? Go get the jab and go get tested, and and the thing is people never even got the disclosure on what was in those, right? Every time that you were doing a nasal swab, did it have the microneedling technology within those swabs? What is microneedling? What is MN technology? Microneedling technology is a little nano, like, basically it's like a bunch of pricks all over the swab, and when you stick it up your nose, it's just pricking you all over as you spin it all in and around, right? It just cuts you up. It's just abrasive and it cuts you up. So what they say is that they can get a better sample, right? But what they're not telling you is that these swabs, the swabs like Klaus Schwab from World Economic Forum, the swabs, they they also contain EO. It's I should probably go get one. I have like a whole entire, I got a whole box of these tests because I want to test out certain things. But on the label, you take out a little, take it out of the box. It's in a little plastic package, right? It's all sealed for your safety, right? A little swab, a little Klaus Schwab right there, right? And so that's so funny. Now I'm going to call it that every time. And so, you read the label right there, and it's got this square. It's a box, right? And in that box, there's a capital E and a capital O, right? Like Captain EO. Remember that from Disneyland? I don't know. Some of you might. But the E and the O, what does that represent? That's telling you that this swab contains ethylene oxide. Okay, cool. How about you go and do some research for yourself? You come back and you let me know in the comments below on what you find on Captain EO. This ethylene oxide that everyone is swabbing, swabbing up their nose with microneedles, right? And no one was told about this MN technology. No one was told about the Captain EO that they're putting on the swabs, and right? They're not telling you how they got the abrasive swabs so they can cut you up and then put that EO in there to make you sicker, right? They're not telling you this. They're just telling you that, hey, like, I got tested a few times when I worked on set. I work as a background extra, or I did, up until season 6 of Better Call Saul. That was my last gig on a movie set. And that was during the times when they made us wear masks, even if we were like sitting far away from each other, right? Like, I'll just sit away and like, no, please, sir. Like, they'd come up, please, can you put your mask back on? And then I'd be wearing my good Norwex mask, right? The ones that are breathable, and they also block 0.01 microns, right? And they'd be like, no, you need to wear this N95. And it's like, okay, you're going to force me to wear this that's full of fiberglass. As a glass blower, I know how bad it is to breathe fiberglass and breathe through. And it's like, wow, you're going to harm me by forcing me to wear this. All right, whatever. So, I'd have to wear that, and what I try to do is I just keep my Norwex and just put that over it, so I'd be double masked. So then it'd be even harder to breathe. It's like, so great, wonderful. Let's deplete our oxygen levels. Made no sense. Or let's just wear like anything for a mask. Like, hey, let's just put this T-shirt around. That works, right? That'll block all the all the nanoparticles, right? All the different microns, right? Like, people don't really understand how aerosols, like me talking right now, there's aerosols coming out, right? It's just the way it is. If I coughed or I sneezed, there'd be a lot more, boom, right? And just float around the room and spread out, just start to spread everywhere, right? And finally fall, whatever it is. So, people didn't ever get the full disclosure on all of this stuff. The information's finally being revealed. We're now finally not getting censored. We'll find out how this video does. Hopefully it stays up. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. Because all this information that I'm speaking about, it's all being revealed. You can go to the vitamin D video with Dr. Campbell and listen for yourself on how the cholesterol works and the vitamin D and how it helps us with fighting off cancer. That's the one thing that I forgot to mention, is that upping your vitamin D level. This individual said that he went from taking 500, and now I didn't know I thought he said 500 milligrams, but it could be IUs, which I don't know what that means, individual units or something like that. And so maybe he was talking 500 IUs, and he's upping it tenfold to 5,000 IUs per day. So he's saying this is safe. You won't get any sort of issues from having too much vitamin D in your system. He says he takes this other stuff that's like a liquid form of it. I forget what they called it. I'll try to remember and post it in the comments below or in the description below. And also all the other information on the ivermectin, the quinine, the curcumin, the bromelain, NAC, all of that stuff. I will try to list that all in the description below so people can start helping themselves to find their own solutions and their own ways to getting out of pain, to reboosting your immune system, figuring out how to detox these pathogens and things like that. The ivermectin is what's really helping with that. And so, this is a long video, and I need to cut it now because we're already over an hour. No one's going to watch this. No one's going to share this information. No one's going to sit with their families and be like, hey, I'm sorry that you got the jab. Like right now, we have an individual in our family. I don't want to call this individual out, but this individual was supposedly given the jab without consent. Went in for some other kind of medical procedure, and they said, have you gotten your flu shot? And I believe what they did was they comboed it. And then she moved away and went to Tucson, and then had to establish a new doctor, a new primary care physician, right? And in doing so, they do their physical exams and make sure you're okay, and they go over your charts and all your medical stuff, right? And in that time, she found out. They were like, oh, so we see that you got we got your shot and your booster. And she's like, no, I never did. And like, oh, well, it says right here. And there's the serial number, right? Because they're tracking it. And also, the other thing, too, is with the serial number and the tracking, they're tracking who got which of what, right? So now everyone's got a serial number attached to them, to the pathogen that was injected within them. And there's now claims that, well, there has been claims of this for a long time. I've been talking about this for about at least 2 years now, that those who got the recombinant nucleic acid, the RNA, to resequence their DNA, that it alters them and it changes them, and they are no longer considered natural humans. that they're now considered biohumans, because this is a bioweapon, a biopathogen that's been placed within. So now what they're saying is that those companies or the government, whoever, whatever, that they now own each individual and they can track you by serial number. So this individual never gave consent to it, said, I'll get the flu shot, and now somehow got 2 jabs without consent. So in these lawsuits that are coming out, I do believe that individuals such as her can have solid ground to stand on and move forward with their own lawsuits, especially if they never gave consent. Who administered that? Which nurse? Specifically, which nurse or doctor, and which hospital, which administration? You know, that's it. You just put them in the lawsuit right there. Because if you never gave consent, and then what? It's going to be a word, their word against, you know, it's going to be, then you got to try to prove it, right? And how do you prove it? Well, did you ever sign anything? Did it ever say in little tiny words? Did you ever read all the full contracts that you ever signed? Or did you just put your name on something and said, yeah, I'll just sign my way into the hospital. You know, do whatever procedures you want on me, right? People were never also given the whole entire disclosure that as soon as you were admitted into a hospital, every patient was given a do not resuscitate, a DNR, unless you argued it, unless you found out that you had a DNR against you, or maybe a family member who was in there. Because see, that's the thing too, is that, remember, they couldn't have any guests. You couldn't have visitors come in. If you were sick, you had to be in there all by yourself, right? No support from the family, no one to visit, you know, and no advocates. There was no advocacy. So there were people who didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to tell their doctors or nurses, because they're lying there, you know, almost fatal in bed, just begging for anyone's help at that point, right? So they signed anything, right? Not even reading it. Yes, please, just help me. Just save my life. Save me. Save me. Right? I never finished, but, you know, that whole thing with my wife, they ended up diagnosing her with Shigella, which is a very bad illness. And our son, too. I almost lost them both because one hospital rushed them out and said, oh, don't worry about it. Just go on ahead and continue bleeding and just take aspirin. You know, like the whole medical industry has failed us and completely just did a complete 180. Like they used to be advocates for their patients and did what they can to treat their patients, and now they're just doing whatever. Like, this is what I've been told to do. You just have to take this. You just have to do this. It's a dictatorship now. Bunch of dictators all around. So there's a lot that we have to remember. There's a lot that we have to never forget. Never forget what they've put us through. Never forget how they separated us 6 feet apart. Never forget how they forced us to wear masks, even if we were like alone and by ourselves or whatever, sitting or like if you were just inside anywhere, like you had to wear a mask if no one was around or whatever, you know. Never forget. Never forget that you couldn't have weddings. Never forget that you couldn't have funerals. Never forget that you couldn't visit your loved ones when they were sick in bed. Never forget. Never forget the individuals who stopped going to visit their parents because they were so scared. Never forget those friends who unfriended you because they thought that what you were saying was ridiculous, asinine, and completely just ludicrous and conspiracy thoughts, ideas, and theories. Never forget those individuals who said rude and wrong things against you and against your character. Never forget those who supported you through all of this and are still with you and have your back. Never forget those who easily gave in compared to those who kept their faith in God. Never forget that we are all created by God and our immune systems as well, designed to fight off these things. Never forget to keep faith always. Never forget to pray. Never forget to do the work and the due diligence that is needed and necessary. Never forget that whatever happens now and in this time, it's okay, because we are all eternal spirit souls. Never forget who you truly are and what this is truly about. Never forget, we the people have the power in the masses if we can get our heads out our asses and we can finally come together as a true community with common unity so we can have good prevail over evil. Never forget. Thanks for watching, guys. There's so much more to talk about. There's so much more I've missed. There's so much more. I can go on for days with all this. Trying to keep this short. We're already an hour and a half in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Thanks for hearing me out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. What do you think? Whatever happened to Tiffany Dover? Where are all the true stories? I want to hear your story. Did you get it? Did you not? Were you affected? Were you not? Did you possibly get the placebos, or did you get the real deal? Let's really talk about this. Let's have true conversation. You know, from what I've learned from my wife in the Buddhist philosophy, you know, Buddhists believe in getting jabs and vaccines. They pushed it, you know. They pushed it. You know, she wasn't able to go to her meetings anymore because she didn't get it. And then they force you to wear a mask, you know, and if you never got it, they didn't want you around. That's where the community, the common unity was broken. They allowed fear to penetrate their unity. They lost members through fear. But at the same time, I also learned that true Buddhists, real Buddhists, they believe in keeping the communication open. That we should be allowed to speak about these things, whether or not we agree. That we should be able to at least communicate these things out. And we can have honest discussions. So we can come up with honest decisions about all of this. We can finally find solutions. It's all about helping each other out. Being in service to one another is being directly in service to God. Never forget. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a beautiful day.